My name's Terry Felix. I'm from the Sta'alis First Nation. My traditional name is Kakalam. My dad is from Sta'alis and my mom is from the Musqueam First Nation. So back then when there was a marriage, the woman had to go to the man's Indian reserve. So we grew up in Sta'alis. And back then there was only basically one sport, and that was soccer. And my dad was the only coach of the only team. So we naturally moved into soccer, and it was the only sport we played when we were kids. I was the first native in North America to play professional soccer, and I'm the only native to play with the Canadian national team, and the only native to play with the Canadian Olympic soccer team. My dad was a coach, so we always followed soccer, all the way through. We got to all the soccer games that he coached, all the tournaments he coached, and I was saying earlier that we weren't allowed to play in the non-native soccer leagues, but we were always playing soccer, and we played in a few non-native or native soccer tournaments, and we wanted to play more and more, but we couldn't play until we joined the men's league. And there was a lot of men's native tournaments, soccer tournaments, so we played as much as we could. We were just eager to play all the time, and we had that opportunity when we were 16. So the more we played, you're kids, the happier you are. My sister, she graduated from BCIT when she was 17. She couldn't work here, so she went to England, and she sent us magazines. Um, Gordon Best, those type of soccer players were the ones we first learned about. Jeff Hurst scored the England winner in the World Cup, and so we learned our role models, and people we looked up to were people in the magazines in England. And then when the Whitecaps started in '74, that's when we first saw play at Empire Stadium. Yeah, pretty neat. We worked hard when we were playing soccer, and in like soccer and professional sports, it's uh, it's usually the person that works the hardest has success. It's not like in a business where your dad can give you a job or your family can give you a job. In sports, it was you work hard and you'll succeed. So, and I bring that over into my personal life. Um, I got a lot of success in my career from just working hard, working long hours, and I think that's the main thing. And I think playing with the Olympic team was probably the biggest thing for me, because I moved to town when I was 21, my 21st birthday. For 2 years, I trained and worked and didn't know anybody down here. You're sort of lonesome all the time, and but you always wanted to play soccer. And I was invited out to the Olympic team tryouts, and out of 55 teams from those 5 camps, they chose 55 players, and I was chosen to start for Canada. And everything just sort of that I was training for and that I was trying to do all came together in one soccer session, and I was asked to start for Canada. So that meant a lot because I was lonely at the time and didn't know anybody at all. So I think that means most to me than anything else. when you lose your dad when you're young, uh, he got me to move to Vancouver, and he passed away 7 months later. So he never got to watch me play soccer at that level. And growing up without him, we had to take care of ourselves. We're 21, and I had a young family. My daughter was born. I was 24, and I didn't get any help from anybody. So I think learning how to rely on myself to do things and get things done. I think that was the biggest thing in my life was learning how to just rely on myself and nobody else. Yeah, it would have been nice to have him there to help me out and give me advice. But you lose somebody at a young age, and you don't think people are gonna leave you. Yeah, and he was gone, and I had to learn how to cope with things by myself. Yeah. The thing I do tell my granddaughter is, yeah, don't quit. Just keep trying, and you have to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying what you do, um, don't do it. So I've seen a lot of people in my life that do jobs that they don't like, but they stick with it. They're in relationships they're not happy, but they stick with it. And I tell my kids and my granddaughters that if you're not having fun, um, don't do it. Move on to something else that you enjoy. And my kids are really successful there in what they do in their job and relationships, and because they're happy in what they're doing. And my granddaughter wasn't enjoying soccer for a while. I told her to step back for a few months and just sort of figure out what you want to do. And she found out that she loved soccer and wanted to go back, but she had to step back for a little while and figure out that that's the most fun she has when she's playing ball. So if you're not enjoying stuff, if you're not enjoying your job or anything, um, do something else. It was scary moving into Vancouver because it was our reserve was like 200 people. I talked to my coach and he said, tomorrow we play New York Cosmos, and um, you might play a couple of minutes. I said, okay. So he put me through some drills for 20 minutes. He had me sprinting. Can you imagine sprinting for 20 minutes? Not now. So I was sprinting for 20 minutes and he said, come to the stadium at 3 o'clock. The game's at 6. And so Coach Giles started naming off the players. And he said, Terry, you're starting. So I started shaking, and I was drinking tea and my hands were shaking, and I was a real fast runner. I figured I could run out of the stadium and be out of town in 20 minutes. I didn't want to play. I didn't want to get out here and play in front of these people because it was a packed stadium, and they're talking about the game. They announce all the players, and you run from the tunnel to midfield, which is 70 yards. I didn't want to trip. I knew I was going to trip. So I started jogging, and I could feel my legs were real heavy, and I didn't trip. I was okay. And 10 minutes into the game, my legs were still really rubbery until I settled down, and that was like another soccer game. And every game after that, packed stadiums, it didn't bother me. It was just that first thing where you want to just run, but I couldn't, so I had to deal with it. Culture was never a big part of our life. I was talking earlier about up till like 72 when we were 13, that if we practiced our culture, we would go to jail, and there was nothing you could do about it. And over the years, culture is a really big part of our life. And so what culture does to our community now, helps our people heal. So right now, drugs and alcohol is really not that big of a part of our life on Instaalis in our Indian Reserve, because we're starting to heal, and so the parents are able to help their kids as they enter sports. They're spending time with the kids. And when we were kids, we didn't have anybody to help us in sports to travel, but it's so much different now that people are doing everything for their kids. And I think that's the biggest change in our culture from when I was a kid to how my grandkids are growing up. Yeah.